We play and call it work.
Hey folks, Janine from Mini Wargaming here with another how-to video for you. In this video, we are going to continue work on this Fulgrim Primarch Mini, and we are going to paint the blade of his sword. As always, if you have suggestions for something you'd like to see in a future how-to video, please leave it down below in the comments. Now, Fulgrim's sword is a golden sword that's supposed to have an ever-glowing fire from the forge, so we're going to kind of play around with those elements and see if we can incorporate them both into the blade of this sword. We're going to begin with the gold. Our first layer is going to be Runelord Brass. I'm going to mix it with Lahmian Medium, and I'm going to mix Lahmian Medium into all of our colors for this video. And there's two parts to this sword. We have the flat of the blade and the edge. We want to have kind of a highlight that is kitty corner on both of those areas. So the brightest gold is going to be towards the hilt for the blade of the sword, and the very brightest gold is going to be towards the top for the flat of the sword. This first layer is just going to be a base layer. We're going to paint the whole sword area with this kind of dark gold color to give us a starting place. I'm going to go ahead and do a second layer just so I can make sure that I have a really nice solid color to work with. After that Runelord Brass color, we're going to begin highlighting our golds. So our next color is going to be Brass Scorpion. And this is where we're going to begin to work up that kind of kitty corner highlight. So I'm really only painting this over about 3/5 of the sword area. Again, for the flat, the brightest gold is going to be closer to the top. And then for the blade, the brightest gold is going to be right next to the hilt. And as I was trying to blend the Brass Scorpion into the Runelord Brass color, something about my Runelord Brass was just not working. It wasn't a solid consistency. It wasn't blending well. So I'm going to go ahead and take this Warplock Bronze color, and I'm going to use that for my darkest metallic instead. I'm just going to paint this on the areas of the sword that I want to remain dark. And then as I get to the area where I want to begin my brighter golds, I'm going to mix a little bit of this Warplock Bronze color into my Brass Scorpion and kind of blend the transition between the two colors so that I have a really nice gradient that goes all the way from the darker color to the lighter color. After I finish with my Brass Scorpion, I'm going to use the color Gehenna's Gold. And I'm doing a very similar process that I'm going to do for all of my colors in this video. I want to paint the color in the area that's going to be the brightest, and then I'm kind of dragging the paint a little bit further down the mini, and then as I get to the area where the two colors transition, I'm going to take a little bit of my previous color. In this case it's going to be the Brass Scorpion. I'm going to mix it into my Gehenna's Gold, and I'm going to paint and blend that transition area a little bit so that the colors flow smoothly. Our next highlight is going to be Auric Armor Gold. This is going to be mainly applied to the very tip of where I want the gold highlight to be. So on this flat, you can see that I have it more towards the top, and there's just that little area right at the very top that's a darker metallic, and that's where the edge of the sword begins, the blade. And then the blade of the sword, my very brightest metallic, is right down next to the hilt. Next, I'm just going to tint these gold metallics to be a little bit more red. I'm doing that because I'm going to be applying the fiery glow to a few areas of the sword, and this is going to kind of blend the gold and that fiery glow together a little bit. So I'm taking Carroburg Crimson, and I'm just going to paint a very small layer over the top of these metallics all the way down. I want to make sure that I'm not putting too much of this color on. I'm just tinting everything underneath it. I don't want to cover it up too much. At this point, I'm going to block out my areas of fire. My first color is going to be Doombull Brown. And I'm going to apply this in kind of an opposite direction to what I did with the gold. So on the flat of the sword, I'm going to be concentrating my brightest colors right next to the hilt. And on the blade of the sword, I'm going to be concentrating my brightest colors right at the tip. After the Doombolt Brown, my next color is Evil Sunz Scarlet. Again, I'm doing the same process where I apply this color and then I go back and mix a little bit of Doombolt Brown into my paint and blend the transition area. I'm just kind of going about this slow and easy, and I'm pushing and pulling the colors until they all move together. I want to make sure that my paint's thin so that I can play around and add lots of little tiny layers without building up a huge glob of paint. And I really just kind of want to be patient, build up the color slowly so that everything is really smooth. My next color is going to be Wild Rider Red. Now for a fiery glow, you want to stick more with oranges and yellows. That's traditionally what you think of. However, having it go all the way down to a brown and then to a brown red and all the way up through the various levels of red into a very bright yellow is going to make it look a little bit more natural and a little bit more like it's part of the sword. Alright, at this point we are going into our oranges. The first orange is going to be Fire Dragon Bright. At this point, since I've been painting progressively less and less of the sword, I'm really only painting about 1/8 of the blade and really just kind of starting to build that glow towards the very edge of these areas. It's a little bit harder to see because the area is much smaller, but any step that I'm doing on the flat of the sword, I'm also doing on the blade of the sword. And if any of these colors need multiple layers, it's totally fine to wait for the layer to dry and go back, paint over it again, if that's what I need to make a really smooth blend. Our next color is going to be Uriel Yellow. This yellow is going to be just a thick line right next to the hilt and a small dot at the top of the blade. And then I'm going to blend that line a little bit so that it's smooth, but I'm not adding a lot of this color. I want the glow to be very localized. Our last highlight is going to be Flash Gets Yellow. And I'm just going to dab this onto the very bottom and the very top. Alright, and with that last bit of yellow highlight, this glowing golden sword is complete. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more how-to videos, I have another one where I'm going to paint the feathers on Fulgrim's cloak in the Mini Wargaming Vault in the link down below in the description. If you don't already have a Vault membership, you can go ahead and click the link, sign up for a 7-day free trial, and get access to my video as well as hundreds of other videos in the Mini Wargaming Vault. So go ahead, click the link, start your free trial, and happy wargaming!